Peace, y'all. It's Khamsin the Oracle. What happened? Remnants Gathering, aka Weirdo Gang Gang. And I wanted to share a really quick channel message that's just been resonating and circulating through me throughout the day, because I think that there are other people out here who are going to need this information or find it useful. Right now, I'm not an astrologer, but I pay attention to the signs and the heavens and the cosmos. And Venus is retrograde. You know, Venus, that planet is, that is the planet that ultimately determines the way that you love. And for me, this has more so been about the way that I love myself. Because if I focus on isolating the places where I'm void of loving myself and begin filling those places in with things that I love, things that I enjoy, things that I care about, things that I like, things that make me feel proud of myself, by replacing the negative self-talk, that inner critic, and filling in the spaces and the voids and the areas where I discover something about myself that's uncomfortable. You want to fill that in with things that have a harmonic resonance with you, that will be able to attune you so that you can be in alignment with the frequency of love. And so with this Venus in retrograde, I feel like most of us don't really know what love is or how to do it. We definitely do not know how to give it to ourselves. That manifests in a lot of different ways. But what happens when you come to Earth? Earth is a prison planet. This is a hell planet within this universe. And so when you come here to learn those lower lessons. So let's just say Goddess is experiencing itself, creator. And so it says, okay, I'm going to create children. I'm going to create children to have infinite amounts of experience, because ultimately to be God, to be divine, to be connected to source is to be infinite. It is an infinite amount of energy. And so, yes, we are all fractals of that, having this human experience. So what happens is when we're born, typically we come into a family with very specific psychological dysfunctions that will ignite our spiritual journey, that will get our attention. And so we've been seeing this stuff has been coming to the surface a lot for a lot of you who've been on this path of spiritual awakening. You're beginning to observe things about yourself and others in your family, and it's becoming very clear to see that there are some things that you came here to end, ultimately, if it's not beneficial, but to keep the things that are beneficial and to build upon them and create your own traditions and create a new morphogenetic field. Your morphogenetic field is based on your genetics, right? So when you start observing these particles, and the particles are the things that happen in your life, the situations, the circumstance, when you observe these circumstances, know that just by the power of you observing, being aware, non-judgmentally, that's the key. Non-judgmentally step back and say, wait, do I have judgments about this particular situation that's happening right now? And you'll hear your mind and you'll be like, okay, hold on. Okay, I do kind of feel like I am being a little judgmental right now. So, okay, let me consciously release that. I'm observing this situation and I'm dictating what I'm going to do in response, because I have a desire for an outcome. And let's see if I can drive that desire to manifest in my reality. So typically this kind of moment would lead to an argument, or this kind of moment would lead to me saying shit that I've been mad about for 3 months, and I just been holding it in and waiting on a moment to let it out, right? Let's just say that that's what's happening in that moment. And so by you observing that, that moment becomes programmable. That moment becomes more malleable because you're observing it in a non-judgmental way. That's going to allow your mind and your heart to be aligned with one another. And so you'll be able to see multiple perspectives. You won't be stuck with tunnel vision. You won't be stuck seeing things in black and white, all or nothing. All of that is a result of trauma. Whenever you're seeing things in black and white, whenever you're saying things like you always and you never, those are signs that your mind has went into a subconscious program. You're not thinking, you're running on an automated system, and you're saying things through your trauma. And so that makes things look very black and white. People either love you or hate you. But the truth is, there's a lot of stuff in between all of those, different ways of expressing emotions and how we feel about one another. So you're observing that and you stop and you say, hold on, how am I observing this? And what vibration am I seeding into this present moment? Now, if your vibration is fear, or if that vibration is anxiety, then you want to start breathing and controlling your breath and saying, okay, just calm down. It's all right. You ain't got to be anxious. It's all right. You're working on healing some of your codependency issues. And because of that, you let people treat you, however they want to, and you're not assertive about your boundaries, and you don't let people use your throat chakra in a healthy way and say, hey, I feel uncomfortable with where this conversation is going. I'm not in alignment with the energy that I feel coming from you, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So I'm going to take a pause for this moment. That's a boundary, right? This time right now is teaching us how to use boundaries in a healthy way. So you want to create the boundary if that's what's necessary. But listening with openness in the heart. And so what happens is in the Black family, and I can only speak for the community that I grew up in, but in the Black family, a lot of us experience numerous kinds of abuse in our upbringing. And so, yes, the spiritual warfare is for us to be able to heal and find resolutions for these things. There was a period of time where praying about it was enough. That was the age of Pisces. We're not there anymore. So in the age of Aquarius, that is expansion of mental capacity. That is expansion of being able to have a more expanded consciousness, to not see things in tunnel vision, to not see things as good and bad, black and white, all or nothing. Nothing is like that. There's always varying degrees and levels in between everything. And so the more multidimensional you become, the more challenged you are to see, can I flow through my day in a multidimensional way? Or am I still reacting as if I'm just a 3D planet being and I have no other capabilities to do anything else, right? This is what you have to ask yourself. So what happens is you're observing, this is some quantum physics mixed with a little bit of spirituality. But what happens is right now we're healing a lot of the family, the epigenetic programming within our DNA. So, as Black children, we weren't allowed to use the word no. Unless maybe it was a stranger. And so this led to some of us getting molested, some of us getting abused. We were afraid to say no. In our community, we had a lot of different things that we would use as forms of discipline that may or may not have been beneficial. And so a lot of us have like this Oedipal complex where we're stuck, our wounded inner child, if you want to use those terms. Oedipal, if you want to use terms related to psychology. And so we get stuck. And so whatever age you had the most intense emotional trauma, then typically your emotional level of strategizing, the way that you express your emotions, the way that you perceive other people's emotions, that is emotional intelligence. And your emotional intelligence is usually going to be equal to the age in which you emotionally began creating coping mechanisms. And your egoic self got stronger. And to be safe, you created a false self. You created this really, really nice girl, a nice boy, good girl, good boy. It's a character that you created. Because anything other than that, even if it was authentic, was perceived as bad, demonic, evil, and sinful. And so what happened is that caused us to split. And so not only did we have pressure from society, but we had pressure from our family, we had pressure from religion, many different forms of systems that we have on the planet that we use as humans. It becomes a social construct where you are imprisoned into belief systems and patterns that were created by people who were also traumatized. And so this is when you can also get into some of the post-traumatic slave syndrome and the results of that. We're at a point now we can't ignore it anymore. It's really in our face. It's really, really clear to see your own insecurities, dysfunction, weaknesses, limitations, the areas where you see that you have a lot of fear and it controls you. It determines what you do in your day. It determines what you do with your business. It determines what you do in your relationship. And so what is happening with this Venus in retrograde, a lot of us are revisiting the lessons of love because some of these lessons we didn't get as children. So we're having to reparent, remother, refather our own selves. We're having to give the love to ourselves or whatever it was our parents were not able to give us or those who raised us. We're having to learn how to cultivate that, to nourish that, to give it to ourselves, like existentially, every day. Indefinitely. This is not an on again, off again thing. When you're really on this journey, it is 24/7 that you are using mindfulness to observe yourself and others and making necessary changes if you see that it is needed. And so what's happening is a lot of us did not know how to really be in relationships. Because if you have fear of being vulnerable because you've been betrayed before, you've been hurt, heartbroken, you have trust issues. Let's just use those four. Let's just say maybe you had some abandonment issues or some rejection issues. Maybe your love attachment is not secure. It's more anxious, preoccupied. Or maybe you're avoidant because it wasn't safe to feel emotions and express them. Maybe you saw emotions being expressed as a negative thing because the people who you saw as a kid that were the models for you maybe had imbalances in their area and you took on some of that onto yourself. So we're learning these lessons of love and we're being pressed to go back and learn again. We're being pressed to go back and unlearn some stuff you just need to let go of. What are your expectations regarding love? The love that you give to yourself and others. And so what happened is when you're in balance and when you have a lot of this trauma and stuff, it makes it really, really hard for you to be intimate for real, for real. So a lot of us went through the age of Pisces and we had created a false self. And so most of our relationships were based on this person that we created. It really wasn't who we was in an authentic way. It was the person that was shaped as a result of these many different social constructs of conditioning and programming. So the person that you became was just a side effect of what you were experiencing. So now that we're in the age of Aquarius, now that the Lioness Gate portal of 2021, which was the most powerful one I ever experienced, it took the veil down. So now we can't fake it anymore. Now we don't know how to even pretend that we're being intimate. We can't even pretend that we're being romantic. You can't fake the funk no more. You just can't. You have to accept it. If you want to continue to grow, you have to look at things and observe them and practice observing them without judgment, but practicing healing yourself so that your discernment is more accurate, right? And so to let go of the illusions is painful. There is a moment where it's painful because the illusions maybe may help you sleep at night. The illusions maybe is what the reason that the peace that you felt like you did have, you don't have anymore. Maybe it's because the illusions had gave you a false sense of security. But now that you have called this moment into your moment in time that you're listening to me now, you're being challenged to expand and to grow and to evolve, to be better. So, yes, practice releasing judgment. Intimacy, that's a struggle, especially in the melanated community. That is a major struggle. Men, y'all just at every moment, y'all be resistance to divine feminine energy when it comes through because it don't fit into nothing that you was ever told. Fellas, I know some of y'all be doing lectures and making posts about women being God, but are you allowing your woman to walk in that divine essence like that for real, for real? Because if you are, you're going to have moments where you're going to be challenged. You're going to have moments where you're going to be hella triggered and you go want to respond to her, but then you know that she is standing in her rightful space. You know that she has raised herself up to even be able to walk in a divine, feminine, confident manner. She's more comfortable expressing herself. She's not going to kiss your ass. She's not going to tell you what you want to hear just because you want to hear it. It's a level of keeping it real that you attain when the divine feminine energy really anchors itself in you. So I'm telling y'all now, the expression of that through women is not going to be what you have been conditioned to believe is acceptable. And so this is the challenge that we will have in relationships. But look, if you surrender to the divine feminine, and I know a lot of masculines out here uncomfortable surrendering to feminine energy, and you have many different reasons that I've went over in past videos. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you don't know the reasons, let's work on that, fellas. If y'all could just begin working on that, ladies, and we continue with self-love, self-care of these things, because societal programming and conditioning, it turned us into slaves. And we don't even know who we are outside of cooking dinner, cleaning up, providing, paying bills, working, trying to make sure that we're having sex with our man as much as possible so that he don't step out. You know, all of this stuff is sickness. It causes mental and physical emotional imbalances. It's a sickness and it's healing. So I highly, highly recommend that you all study. If what I'm talking about is speaking to you, study John Bradshaw and some of his works. He has a book called Healing the Shame That Binds You. I highly recommend this book. Chapter 3 for me was all about upbringing in the Black community, and it's not a negative thing. It's really beautiful, actually. So if you listen to this and you came through a bloodline that had a lot of dysfunction, be encouraged and know that's something that you should celebrate, because you knew that your soul was going to be equipped with what it needed to be able to heal and to be able to have a different projected future, because you're making the necessary changes in the present. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing more of this. Stay tuned. And make sure you check out the website, remnantsgathering.com. Check out YouTube, Khamsin. It's just my name. And, go out there and continue to make a beautiful week. Man, your third eye has just been kissed. Peace.
KP on the beat.
Khamsin the Oracle, the one and only. 2021, just trying to help you stay focused. I'm focused, my brain evolving.
Awareness is the country stream, and I've been reconnected anatomically. Loyalty, I owe myself, settled all inclusively. Out the box mentality, dangerous my strategy, no casualty. Mortal combat reality, don't have to be, but it gotta be. Immortal war, a friend, a foe, fatality. No soul dies, but death tolls with stories told dramatically. Still fighting on with the same song, every game on systematically. My heart goes but won't miss a beat. On the right night with the light phase, it's an eye shade with the family. HD, no lo-fi, so quantum, we 5D. Transmit my thoughts on. Heart shocks feel so strong, high energy I flows on.